they thought he was just a garbage boy. The kind you look past without even realizing you've done it. The kind whose footsteps fade into the noise of the city before you ever learn his name. But what if I told you that behind those dusty clothes and that bent back was a truth so powerful it would silence an entire neighborhood? Before this story ends, you'll understand why judging a person by their appearance can cost you your own humanity. And if stories like this touch your heart, remember to like this video and subscribe to Kindly Tube, because one story can change the way you see the world forever. Every morning before the sun had fully woken the city, a thin boy named Ayan pushed his rusty cart through the narrow lanes. Its wheels screamed with every turn, and the empty bottles and torn cardboard rattled like tired bones. He was always barefoot, his shirt too big, his pants too short, and his eyes always lowered. Shopkeepers would shout at him if his cart blocked the way for even a second. Some kids threw stones behind his back just to see him flinch. To most people, he was not a child, not even a person. He was just that garbage boy. Ayan never argued. He never shouted back. He would simply move his cart aside and whisper a soft sorry, even when he had done nothing wrong. His days were long, his hands always dirty, his stomach often empty. But every night, when the streets grew quiet and the neon signs blinked themselves to sleep, Ayan would sit on the steps of an old closed library at the corner of the main road. Under a broken streetlight, he would open a small, worn notebook and read. He read slowly, carefully, tracing each word with his finger as if afraid the letters might run away. No one knew where he learned to read. No one cared. One evening, a group of schoolboys passed by and laughed when they saw him reading. "Look at the garbage boy pretending to be smart," one of them mocked. Another snatched the notebook from his hands and flipped through its pages. "What's this? Law books?" he scoffed. They burst into laughter and tossed the notebook onto the ground, stepping on it before walking away. Ayan didn't cry. He simply picked up his notebook, brushed off the dust, and whispered, "One day, you will understand." Across the city, in a large house guarded by iron gates, lived a respected man known by almost everyone, Justice Farooq Ahmed, one of the most powerful judges in the state. His decisions were feared by criminals and admired by honest people. Newspapers called him the voice of justice. But behind the strong image, his heart carried a deep wound. Years ago, his young son had disappeared during a crowded festival. Despite years of searching, police investigations, and endless prayers, the boy was never found. The judge and his wife were told to accept the loss, but a father's heart does not forget. What no one knew was that on that same night, a frightened little boy had been dragged away by a man who used children for labor. That boy's name had been Ayan. Ayan had grown up not knowing the warmth of a family, only the harsh rhythm of survival. He was forced to work, beaten when he slowed down, and taught that silence was safer than questions. But deep inside him lived a memory of a man with kind eyes who once lifted him onto his shoulders and called him "my brave son." That memory never left him. It was the reason he protected his notebook, the reason he studied, and the reason he refused to let the world turn him into something cruel. Years passed. The city grew, but Ayan remained invisible. Until the day everything changed. A new school was being built in the neighborhood, and the workers were dumping construction waste all over the streets. Ayan, trying to do his job, accidentally blocked the entrance of a large office building for a few minutes. A man in a suit stormed out, furious. "Can't you see where you're standing?" he yelled. "Get your dirty cart out of here." As Ayan hurried to move, his notebook fell from his pocket and slid across the clean marble floor of the building's lobby. The man picked it up to throw it back at him, but he froze. Inside were neat handwritten notes. Legal terms. Case references. Quotes from famous judgments. "Where did you get this?" the man asked, his voice suddenly different. Ayan hesitated. "I study at night," he said softly. The man stared at him in disbelief. "Do you even know what you're reading?" "Yes, sir," Ayan replied. "These are judgments of Justice Farooq Ahmed. I want to become like him one day." The man's face went pale. "You want to become like him?" Ayan nodded. "He believes in justice. I believe in justice too." The man was one of the judge's assistants. Something in the boy's eyes, something in his voice, felt too real to ignore. He invited Ayan inside, offered him water, and asked him more questions. Ayan answered calmly, correctly, and with surprising depth. By the end of the conversation, the assistant made a decision that would change lives. A week later, Ayan was standing inside the grand courtroom for the first time. His hands trembled as he clutched his notebook. He had been invited to meet the great judge he admired so deeply. When Justice Farouk entered, the entire room stood up. But Ayan couldn't move. His heart was beating so loudly it felt like it would break his chest. As the judge's eyes fell on him, time seemed to slow. The judge frowned slightly. There was something about this boy. His eyes. His expression. His posture. "What is your name, son?" the judge asked gently. "Ayan," he replied. The judge's breath caught. That was the name of the son he had lost. The room went silent. A DNA test was ordered quietly. Days passed like years. And then the truth arrived, undeniable, unbreakable. Ayan was his son. The garbage boy everyone had ignored was the lost child of one of the most powerful judges in the country. When the truth became public, the neighborhood that once mocked him fell silent. Shopkeepers who had shouted at him now bowed their heads in shame. The boys who had laughed could not meet his eyes. But Ayan didn't ask for apologies. He didn't demand respect. He simply smiled, the same quiet smile he always had. He moved into his father's house, but he didn't forget the streets. He didn't forget the hungry children, the ignored faces, the invisible lives. With his father's support, he started a foundation to educate street children, giving them books, meals, and hope. Years later, when Ayan stood in court as a young law graduate, he looked out at the room and said, "I was once invisible. But someone believed in me. And that belief changed my life." And that is why you should never judge someone by their clothes, their job, or their silence. Because behind a dusty face may be a destiny greater than you can imagine. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Kindly Tube. Your support helps us share stories that remind the world to see people for who they truly are, not just what they appear to be.